This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast with original independent science fiction written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I've got Chapter 23 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on the way, as the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus continues on Glow in the Dark Radio. Well, the time has come for Alibi Jones to get down to the business of rescuing his former friend, the Darkour Kit, and Alibi's on-again, off-again girlfriend, Katie. Both are being held by Rene Laveillur on his planet Kismet. And Alibi is on Kismet risking his own life to free them, as Laveillur had his right-hand man, Peterson, personally warn Alibi not to set foot on Kismet, or he was a dead man. Alibi saw the Darkour delegation he'd been hiding in take off, and is now hiding in the hotel room of his hired gun, the bounty hunter Brady Thomas. We'll wake up with Alibi Jones in Chapter 23 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, coming up on this episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. Last week's episode, the chapter last week was on the short side. This week is much longer. This one's just over 19 and a half minutes long. And there isn't another really short chapter in this novel, which is nice. Feels like a chapter should be about 15 to 20 minutes long, you know? And there are a couple that are longer and a couple that are shorter coming up as we head towards the end of the story. 29 chapters with an epilogue. And we're in chapter 23 now, which is coming up in a minute or two here. Again, thank you to patrons. Thank you, patrons. You guys help make this podcast happen. You keep Glow in the Dark Radio glowing. All voluntary. Please help if you enjoy the show, and you can. You can do so at patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. In book news, I'm actually recording this ahead of time because I'm at the Pocumtuck Homelands Festival this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, August 2nd and 3rd, in Unity Park in Turners Falls, Massachusetts, from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. I've been invited to give a presentation both days on our Ancient Stone Mysteries of New England, which is scheduled for 12:30 each of the days in the History Tent. And I'll have a few copies of my book, Ancient Stone Mysteries of New England, with me for sale. So it's not science fiction related, but I am out this weekend in Western Massachusetts at the Pocumtuck Homelands Festival. Find out more at nolumbikaproject.org or facebook.com/nolumbikaproject. That's NOLUMBEKA, Nolumbika Project. We'll get into Chapter 23 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
The Flash Pulp Podcast. 3 to 10 minutes of fiction brought to you thrice weekly. Now it's 3 apocalypses in one. Yeah! Suffering from tough, stuck-on humans? Well, 20 hellish hours of suffocation in the all-encompassing web of Karwick the Spider God will get them right out. Too many brains lying around? The ravenous mouths surrounding zombie-fighting Ruby will quickly clean those up. Nosy neighbors, infect them with the murder plague. and watch as they dissolve into paranoid maniacs bent on the preemptive assassination of their friends and family. Why stop at one end of the world when you can have all three? You can find them all at flashpulp.com or search for them on iTunes.
Now here's Chapter 23 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow in the Dark Radio. Somehow, Alibi does sleep. Without remembering falling or being asleep, Alibi awakes as Thomas yells a hearty, "Kid! Hey kid, wake up!" at him. "Time to get dressed. Let's see if we can't sneak out of here today like you want to," Thomas says. "I hear you," Alibi responds, groggy. He pushes himself up onto his feet, stretching to try to work out the kinks in his back and shoulders caused by sleeping on the hard floor. Alibi uses the refresher and gets off the past day's grime, and the remnants of the sticky stuff that kept his costume's fur on in places. His own hair has grown longer than he usually wears it. His skin is darker than usual, part of the costume that should fade with time. He hardly recognizes himself in the mirror. Huh. Well, that's good. Let's hope Peterson doesn't recognize me either. He pulls the Kismet worker's jumpsuit out of the cleaning drawer and gets dressed. "Ready to do this, kid?" Thomas asks. Thomas is dressed in his own Kismet worker's jumpsuit. Alibi doesn't answer Thomas right away. A strange numbness has struck. The temperature of the air around Alibi seems to drop 30 degrees. A chill envelops him. He shivers. It seems to break the sudden spell. "Kid?" Brady Thomas asks. He sounds concerned. "I'm fine. It's just all kind of hitting me." Alibi shakes his head. He looks at the floor. Another chill ripples through him, cascading over him along with an avalanche of doubts and questions. What the hell was I thinking? How could I ever think this would work? Can I really trust this guy, Thomas? Will we be able to get to Katie? When will they send Kid out? Will it be in time? "Natural to have some doubts," Thomas says. "I'm just thinking," Alibi lies, "going over the plan in my head. Our hover car is all set, out by the exercise yard. Got the confirmation call when you were in the fresher," Brady informs him. "At least one part of this crazy puzzle is in place." "Good," Alibi says. "Plan's starting to come together, see?" Trying to convince him or me? "Hope so, kid. I'd love to see it happen," Thomas replies, sounding less than convinced. "I'm still not happy about using my ship to get you off of this rock." "But you're still doing it, right?" Alibi checks him. "I'm still here, ain't I?" Thomas protests, sounding a little insulted. "Sorry," Alibi apologizes. "You're right." "All right, let's go," Thomas says. "Follow behind me, and try not to look anyone in the eye." "Gotcha," Alibi agrees. They leave the hotel room and ride the elevator down to the lobby. Once out of the elevator, Alibi looks around the lobby, hoping he doesn't see Peterson. Good. No sign of him. Weird to see him in here yesterday. Brady Thomas and Alibi make their way across the lobby and on out into the main corridor. Alibi looks at the floor as they walk. Thomas's advice is good. Alibi can't risk the chance he'll recognize anyone, or anyone him. Alibi shoots a glance around him to keep track of where they're going, trying not to walk into anyone, or anything. "You're kinda twitchy, kid. Calm that shit down, huh?" Thomas whispers in a hoarse voice back at Alibi. "Sorry." Alibi stops trying so hard, and still manages not to make eye contact as they walk. Not many people walking the corridor actually do make eye contact, he notices after a few minutes. Thomas leads them down through the city. They're in one of the oldest parts of Kismet. As they descend, the city visibly becomes more old spaceship and less planet-built new construction. Alibi and Brady Thomas enter the old casino. "Here's where it gets tricky," Thomas says. Act like you're working. We're crossing from the public section to the worker section. Grab that trash can, there. He nods his head at a large orange trash can against the wall, off to their left. What? Make it look like you're working, Brady Thomas rasps in a loud whisper. He shoots a glance to each side to make sure no one heard him. Chagrined, Alibi picks up the trash can. He looks over at Thomas. Thomas nods towards a corridor behind the gaming tables. Down there, he says. Alibi waddles a little with the large trash can in his arms as he follows Thomas past the gamblers and dealers. Blackjack tables. Lots of them. Remember, no eye contact. Oh, shit. Peterson is standing at a table next to the entrance to the corridor. You don't see me. I am invisible. Alibi tries not to look like he's looking away, as he also tries not to look at the man. He stares down over the trash can at Thomas's heels as he walks on towards the corridor. He won't know me. Why should he remember me? I am invisible. Sure, I remember him, but he must threaten hundreds of people. Hey! Brady Thomas yelps as Alibi plows into him with the trash can. Sorry, didn't realize you'd stopped, Alibi apologizes. Didn't you see the door? Brady Thomas asks him, sounding annoyed. Nah, I wasn't looking up, Alibi says. You know, eye contact. See it now. Alibi stares straight ahead at what looks like an old starship's cargo bay door. We really are in what used to be the old space station. Great, Thomas answers. Hold on. It'll open in a second. It's a long second. Alibi thinks he can feel Peterson's eyes on his back. He doesn't dare turn around to see if that's the case. The door in front of them is still closed. Seems to be taking a long minute. Alibi begins counting time in his mind. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. The door slides aside to reveal another blank white wall about 8 meters in front of them. A corridor leads off each way. Come on, Thomas grunts as he walks through the door, leading Alibi to the left. The corridor is long and wide. Thomas and Alibi give a small pack of security goons a wide berth as they pass. The goons are guarding another sliding door, this one built into the right-hand wall. No eye contact. Alibi lets his eyes lose focus, blurring his vision, concentrating on carrying the trash can. That's the power plant, Thomas tells him when they are safely out of the guard's earshot. Used to run the whole place when it was a ship and an orbital station. Now it gives the city most of its power. Wild how the city used to be a ship, Alibi marvels. Wait till you see the old engines down below. We gotta go by some of them to get to where your girl will be coming back into the city, Thomas says. Those things are bigger than a lot of buildings I've been in. Thomas leads Alibi to the corridor's end, at a bank of 2 elevators. A 5-meter wide door and a smaller 2-meter wide door stand side by side. We'll take the freight elevator down, Thomas says, activating the larger of the 2 lifts. The larger door opens on a spacious elevator car, whose opposite wall also appears to be a door. The 2 men enter, and Thomas hits the controls. Alibi feels his stomach flop over as they drop down 3 levels in a split second. The wall behind them opens up when they stop. The door opposite their entrance opens on a busy scene of bustling workers and small and large hover cars zipping every which way. The cars dart through the busy crowd and between the heavy pylons which support the rounded, distant ceiling above. Alibi and Thomas leave the elevator. We need to half walk, half run over to the wall over there, on the left, Thomas tells Alibi. We're running out of time. Alibi puts the trash can down, glad to finally be rid of it. Can't carry it and run at any speed. What are you doing, kid? Thomas asks. Pick that can back up. I can't run and carry. It's part of your disguise, and it's working. Come on, Thomas says. He turns and begins walking briskly toward the left side wall. Alibi picks up the trash can and hurries after Thomas. The ceiling curving away above is actually the outside of the old ship, which becomes more evident as they cross the open space and work their way through the traffic. A giant cone, made of what looks like a stack of giant tubes, looms to their right. As it soars up to meet with and disappear into the ceiling above, an intricate network of human-sized hoses and spaghetti clumps of wiring sprout from the sides of the cone to disappear along with it into the ceiling. "That's one of them," Thomas says, pointing up to it. "That's an engine. Who knows, might even still work. Would be just like Laveillur to have the place ready to go, ready to escape when he needed to." "That thing is huge," Alibi observes. "Takes a lot of lift to move a city," Thomas cracks. "Okay, hurry up, kid. We're running behind here." The two men make their way to the left side wall. As they approach, Alibi sees the area is a sort of motor pool for the city and its workers. Vehicles drive in and out through large doors that open out onto the surface of Kismet. Alibi and Brady Thomas reach the edge of a parking area where hover cars are driving up and parking. Some are plugged in at the charging station. A couple are being checked in at the guard post. As Alibi watches, one drives off out the doors to head out across the planet's surface into the wilds of Kismet. Thomas stops him. "We're here. She's due back any minute now," he says, "and her work unit will be parking their hover car right here." "Right here?" Alibi asks. "You're sure?" "Couple thousand of your dollars sure, kid," Thomas cracks. "As sure as you can afford to be." Thomas watches the guard post for a moment, then starts to walk over towards a larger cargo-carrying hover car. "Come on," he calls back. "Over here."
"That makes sense. Don't want to be conspicuous."
Alibi and Thomas put the cargo carrier between themselves and the guard post. Alibi puts down the trash can. "I'm not picking that up again," he declares. Before Thomas can argue with him, both men are distracted by the sound of a hover car driving in through an outer door and arriving at the guard post. It's a larger cargo-carrying hover car than the one they're hiding behind. After a minute, the hover car is cleared in by the guard post. It drives over to a space near them and settles down to park. 3 men and 2 women get out of the vehicle. One of the women is Katie Ramsey.
"Katie!"
Alibi is surprised by the conflicting waves of emotion that crash over him as he sees her again for the first time in months. Part of him still loves her. He feels that love, that ache, acutely. At the same time, he knows things are close to over. Hell, they are over between them. And he hates her for how she can just walk away. That hate bubbles up too.
Damn.
While Alibi stands dazed, Brady Thomas leaves his side and walks over to the hover car. "Katerina Ramsey?" he calls out, shocking Alibi back to alertness. "Excuse me, is one of you Katerina Ramsey?" "Who wants to know?" the other woman calls back with a little attitude. One of the men snickers. Katie looks the other way. Alibi eases around out of sight behind the cargo carrier. "Mr. Peterson wants to see her," Thomas answers. The snickering stops. The 5 are quiet. "I'm Katerina Ramsey," Katie volunteers. "Would you come with me, please?" Brady Thomas asks her. She looks down. "Sure," she mumbles. She looks at her companions. "I guess I'll see you guys later." One of the men looks at Thomas with suspicion. Probably the security worker in the unit. "I haven't heard anything," he says to Thomas. "Peterson tells you all his plans, does he?" Thomas fires back. The man glares at Thomas, but lets it go. He walks off. "Come on," Thomas says to Katie. He turns and begins to walk over towards Alibi's hiding place. She follows. The other 3 workers follow the first man off in the other direction. "You know," Katie says to Thomas, "whatever Peterson wants, I'm kind of glad to hear it's him." "Really?" Thomas answers, authentically surprised. They've almost reached the cargo carrier and Alibi's hiding place. "Don't usually hear that from people." "It's a weird relief," she explains. Alibi can hear her as she goes on. "There's this guy. That sounds dumb, but I'm worried he'll try to come save me. So when someone calls out my name, I'm always worried it's going to be him, Alibi Joe." Katie nearly swallows her tongue when she walks around the back of the hover car and sees Alibi. She slows down, stunned, as she stares at him. "Hi," he says, trying to sound casual and nonchalant. "Damn it, it is you! Somehow I knew it," Katie says. "This is stupid, Alibi. You shouldn't be here." "Yet, here I am," he says, "and we're going to get you and Kit off of Kismet." "I don't think you know what you're—" Katie pauses in her tirade. "Wait a minute. Kit's here? You said me and Kit." "He's here, locked up. Laveillur is planning to execute him for threatening his life," Alibi informs her. "I came here to Kismet with a Dacour delegation led by Kit's father. I'm on a mission to free him and bring him back to his father with his father's blessing. I get to free you too, kind of a bonus." Katie doesn't believe Alibi. She shakes her head. Thomas pipes up. "It's true," Thomas tells the girl, backing up Alibi. "And we should get going. Pick up the trash can, Alibi." "What? Can't really pretend anymore with Katie here," Alibi says. "Sure we can. It makes people not look at you. It's good," Thomas insists. "Come on, pick it up." "It's getting heavy," Alibi almost whines. Katie reaches into the trash can and pulls out the bag of trash. She drops it on the ground. "There," she says, "not so heavy." Thomas and Katie look at Alibi, waiting. He lifts the trash can back up. "Thanks," Alibi says, half-heartedly. But the trash can is, of course, lighter. "No need to go back up into the city," Thomas says. "We'll cross over to the other side by walking underneath it. Head for the waterfront and the Circle Bay Casino." "All the way across? Underneath?" Katie asks. "We'll avoid the sewer system," Thomas assures her. "Here," he calls to her. He tosses her a cylinder, the Killbot flushing agent. "Hold on to that. Speaking of flushing things, that stuff will help flush the little robots out of your blood before we leave here." "Really? I was wondering," she says. "Why are we heading out towards the casino and the waterfront instead of to the port?" "They've been exercising Kit in a fenced-in yard over that way," Alibi tells her. "Oh." She grows quiet. No one says a word as they make their way across the open spaces between the engines and the pylons. There's an unspoken tension between Alibi and Katie. Katie can't contain herself. After about 5 minutes of determined walking, she lets loose. "This is incredibly foolish. It's stupid. You know that, don't you?" she asks Alibi. "You're welcome," he says, his tone loaded with sarcasm. "I don't want to see you dead, you idiot," Katie says, with some tenderness in her voice. Brady Thomas chuckles. "You two are priceless," he tells them. "Can it for now. Let's try to blend in with the crowd moving that way." Thomas nods at an informal column coming together as workers, freight, and other service vehicles make their way down the main concourse that heads out towards Circle Bay Casino. They get into the flow, trying to blend in with the traffic. It's surprisingly easy for them. They walk with the crowd between pylons and engine cones, then out down a long concourse. A constant stream of supplies and human services flow into the casino for the patrons, the customers, the consumers. The concourse ends. They walk outside of the lower level. Alibi and Katie follow Thomas as he steps out of the flow of traffic and off to the side of the supply path. Thomas motions for them to gather around him. "I was out here last night," he says. "We need to head down an old construction road. It's a little ways ahead. Our hover car should be parked down there. They don't use that road to get in and out of there. They've got a secure walkway off the city's interior peripheral walk that they use instead. Leads out to here. We're going in the old back way." The three walk a little further down the supply path, and then veer off away from the traffic down an access road. It's overgrown, but recently traveled. About 5 meters down the road, they find the hover car waiting for them. "Good," Thomas says to himself, sounding as if he wasn't entirely sure the car would be there. "That's good."
Piece by piece, the puzzle comes together.
The three make their way another few meters down the overgrown road until it dead ends at a gate in a high fence. Alibi looks in through a gap in the gate. The fenced-in area is much as Kit described it, a bare patch in an old construction site. "Alibi," Thomas calls out from the brush next to the gate. "Over here. Let's wait out of the way." Alibi climbs through the brush, off the road, and into the thicket where Thomas and Katie are.
Hope they haven't already brought him out here today. Hope they do bring him out here today.
The three of them settle in to wait for Kit. That was Chapter 23 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Waiting, for now, for Kit and for escape. Isn't it nice how happy Katie is to see Alibi Jones? She'd rather see Peterson? Well, she'd rather she be called to see Peterson than to discover Alibi had been foolish enough to show up on Kismet. But he's there. Here he is, trying to rescue her again, as if she wants that. Does she even want that? Well, they all want to see Kit set free. So we're waiting for Kit. And we're making a little detour into darkness again on our next episode, so we'll be waiting a little while longer than usual. We're going to be checking in on the ancient enemy, asThe, and finding out what Alibi's recovery of the travel cheer of Inokata has enabled asThe to accomplish. What has Alibi done? We'll find out on our next episode. Again, in book news, I'm at the Pocumtuck Homelands Festival this weekend in Turners Falls, Massachusetts, August 2nd and 3rd, 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. So if you have the chance, come on out. And find out more at nolambikaproject.org or facebook.com/nolambikaproject. And again, as always, a big thank you to you as a patron for supporting the podcast. And if you want to become a patron or find out more about supporting Glow-in-the-Dark Radio as a patron, head to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. And that'll fill you in on all the details. And that is all for this week. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2025 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NCND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow-in-the-Dark Radio.